The best salespeople in the world are the ones who do it without you even noticing. Everyone's a salesperson, especially if you're an entrepreneur. In the I'm Not Salesy podcast, join me, Cassie, Mackenzie, and my fabulous guests as we dive into the top strategies, mindset, and energetics around sales and money so that you can hear more, yes, I'm in, instead of crickets or getting ghosted. So if you're ready to fully book out your programs with aligned AF clients and have people chasing you down in your inbox, asking how to work with you, then subscribe to this podcast today and become not salesy too. Oh my gosh! Yay! Welcome to the very first episode of the I'm Not Salesy podcast. Y'all, I am so excited for this because if you've followed me from the Topless Manifester and you were part of the Topless Manifester podcast, then, or audience, you could have also been part of the podcast because I know I interviewed a whole lot of people over the years, but I'm so excited though because, as you know, if you don't already know me, I'm Cassie Mackenzie. I am a sales coach and former pharmaceutical rep for major pharmaceutical companies. And now I'm a sales coach online. And when I started online, it was actually more like manifestation and abundance and money mindset, which I still absolutely love, adore, and believe in. And it just so I just kept feeling the pull to return back to business and to show you what it is like to really grow a business and make sales in a way that feels good and isn't pushy or scammy or misleading people. And this pull started happening last year. I really believe that a lot of times the things that you're the best at and the things that are in your genius zone are the ones that you think everybody else already knows about and does really well. And that's how sales was and business was for me. You know, I can't tell you how much time, I can't even breathe. I'm so excited. How much time, effort, money, and hours I've spent on business trainings and sales trainings since starting my coaching business. And I think it wasn't out of there was always this FOMO, I guess. I always thought, oh my God, I'm going to learn something new. And then I'd take the business thing and then I didn't really learn a whole lot of new things. It was always a great refresher, but I think it's because I'm just naturally drawn to these types of, I'm personally naturally drawn to these types of topics and this type of content and refining the business and refining the sales and refining the tactics that you use each and every day to, put a lot of money in your pocket, but also create a lot of impact in the world. And so I could have just kept going on the Manifestation Queen, train or the Topless Manifester train, but I had changed the name of that podcast already 3 times. And I was just kind of starting to feel that a fresh start at the beginning of this year, a fresh start was needed. And I, just to tell you a little bit about my background, if you are new to this podcast and this is the first episode that you're ever listening to, I started my sales career at the age of 21. I have one of those September birthdays that makes me the youngest person in the class and the youngest person, the last one to drive. And so, but I was 21 years old though when I started my career at Johnson & Johnson as a specialty pharmaceutical rep. I was so lucky and fortunate to receive, world-class training and be surrounded by very, very talented, best of the best individuals and be trained by some of the best in the industry. And 2 years later, even though I had braces and a bad haircut and I stuck out like a sore thumb and I was calling on accounts and people and had clients that were most of my clients were at least in their 40s. They had been to school for 18 years because they were oncologists. And this is undergrad plus med school plus special, getting their specialties and all sorts of things, they had been in school for nearly as long as I'd been alive. And it, you hear all the time around sales, you have to sell with authority and sell with your expert status. And I'm sorry, but if like some chick that looks like she's 14 with braces and a bad haircut comes in and talks to a data-driven oncologist that's saving lives in between, talking to reps that are in front of his face, I don't really think that the expert status was going to go very far. And I had to learn a better way. And so what I did was I surrounded myself with the best of the best. I went and spent time like riding in the car and going on sales calls and spending time with the reps that were in my district all over like Alabama and Tennessee. And because at the time I had to move to that area to take this position. And so I got to see a lot of different styles. The benefit to seeing a lot of different styles is that some people are really great at opening. Some people like opening the sales call, and some people are really great at getting information and asking great questions. And others are really good at closing or, presenting why your product or service is so amazing, and really verbalizing that in a compelling way. So I started to pay attention to like what these people were saying, how they were saying it, what they were doing behind the scenes, how they were cultivating, the sales continuum, right? Like how your sales calls and sales conversations build on top of each other. Because you can't be looking at sales like it's some big transactional thing. And I think that happens online, and that's a conversation that we'll get into. But really, I started to notice that a lot of the really successful reps created very strong relationships in their accounts. Now, that being said, a lot of these people had either lived in the town that they were, that all their customers lived in, and they were, on the same basketball teams, and other kids were playing baseball together. Like there was that, which I didn't have because I had never lived in Alabama before. Or they'd been reps in that area for years and years and years. So they were familiar with them, which again, I didn't have. I was brand new. And so I had to learn really, really fast to formulate and form and use and leverage the relationships and build them very, very quickly. And that became my superpower. And I feel that when you transition into the online space, there were not a lot of people, if any at all, talking about this. And it is such a huge thing to get when you're first starting out in your business, when you've been in it a long time and you don't know why clients are leaving you, when you've, whether you're a seasoned sales rep. Like, look at me. I had 23 years of sales experience, and I still didn't see this right in front of me when I came online. I naturally did it to an extent, like in my community and with people who hired me, like my clients and all, but like there isn't a great example of this all the time online. And what I noticed is a lot of the sales talk in the coaching, consulting, and all space is, if you're a creative out there, especially in the coaching industry, if you're learning from other coaches, it's kind of a transactional. And what I mean is like, you're just worried about landing the sale. You're worried about the people who come in and say yes right away and pay you right away and then move on, right? And then you move on with them and you work with them. But like, what about the others? What about the ones that just, need a little more time or need a little more information? Where is the education around cultivating and leveraging these relationships? And there's not. Let me tell you, there's not. The more I talk about this, the more I realize that there is not a lot of focus on this in the online space. And that's what I'm bringing you. Because if you've ever felt salesy or pushy or scammy or whatever in, promoting your products or services online as a coach, consultant, or creative, then it's no reason why. I mean, it's no wonder why, right? Like, you've probably learned about how it's important to close the sale and land the sale. And nobody's really focused on, what do you do for those people? Like, you're leaving a lot of money on the table and leaving a lot of work on the table if you're not really focusing on the step from, hi, my name is, whatever, to the point where they finally purchase from you. Okay. And you never know where your next client's going to come from. That person that you blew off in the DMs because they didn't ask for the link or say they were going to pay right away, they might have really loved your content, and they may have had 5 other friends who are ready to join something right now, that then they're going to say, well, I like their shit. I like the stuff online. I like their content, but I reached out to them and they didn't even respond to me. And I kind of find that to be like, like it didn't really feel that great. So I wouldn't recommend going that avenue. I would recommend going to this other person who like personally makes me feel a little more, safe and secure in their space, so that I can be there for a long time instead of just looking at me, telling me that like I'm important, but then looking at me like a dollar sign, Now I can say that because I've personally experienced that. There's a coach I'm thinking of right now who preaches about the community and preaches about, oh, you've got to treat your clients right. You've got to really like focus. That's a human on the other side of here. And yet this one person who I've actually joined her programs before, when this is how I was treated in the DMs, and there was like warning signs. I even asked her, hey, would you like to be on my podcast? And it just got blew off. Like nothing ever came back to it. But when I said, hey, can I have the link for XYZ? It was like, oh yeah, hey, how are you? Like, it's really, really great. And there's some finesse, there's some other, steps in between that like, eventually if you keep doing that kind of shit to people, it's going to be this straw that breaks the camel's back. And the straw for me was, I was midway through like a month-long experience with this person, and not even halfway through the month, she reaches out and said, hey, are you going to join next month? Because if you don't, I'm going to cut your access off at the end of this month. And I'm like, it's the 14th day of a 31-day month. Like, isn't this a little too soon? Like, really? You need to know right now? It's right around Christmas. I've got 2 kids' birthdays happening right now. My husband, school's ending. My husband's going to India for a month. Like, I'm sorry, but your freaking monthly program is the last thing on my mind. And it doesn't mean I'm not committed to my business. It just means that like, I'm sorry, but like, I kind of feel like a dollar sign at this point, and maybe I should have responded that way, but I didn't, because I was just too fucking busy to do it. But you bet your ass, I don't even follow that coach anymore. And I'm not ever going to drop a penny in any of her programs. I don't care how fucking successful she gets. It's just not the vibe, right? And this is what I'm talking about. You probably feel like sales tactics leave you feeling salesy because you've seen shit examples online about this. You've gone into stores and salespeople have attacked you. The freaking bad apples have spoiled the bunch. And that's not how true professionalism, true sales is actually done. Like, true sales is a relationship. It is a long-term commitment. It is loyalty. And I can tell you that in that first job that I ever had, where I looked like I was 14, and I grew after 2 years of following through and building relationships and focusing on my customers and on the patients and the end users who were going to benefit from the product and not about my numbers. I didn't even look at my numbers ever. But after 2 years, except I looked at them just to make sure that like, purchases were going through and stuff, but it wasn't like, oh my God, I need this, I need my quota to get back. Like, I never even fucking knew what my quota was. I never focused on that shit ever. I focused on how many patients are benefiting from this today and how many more can I get tomorrow, because their lives are going to be improved by me showing up and making sure that these offices have what they need to continue to prescribe. And that's the way I looked at it. I put the patient at the forefront. And in your online business, you put your client at the forefront. And like, what is going to happen if you don't show up today? If you don't show up and you sell your offer because you feel too salesy, then what's going to happen? What if they don't end up pulling the, like saying yes and getting the help that they need to improve the lives? Are they still going to be screaming at their kids and losing their patience because they're frustrated in their own business, or they're frustrated in their own life or relationship? Like, their brand looks like shit and nobody's finding them, and they can't, they can't even get anybody to respond to a message in the DMs, because when people go to their LinkedIn or Instagram page, it looks like shit because they have no brand identity. Like, you're just posting like like inspirational content that has people say, oh yeah, that's great, and then go to the next person and hire them instead. Like, that's not feeding your kids and putting the Honey Nut Cheerios on the table. And that's not what the vibe that we want either. And so, but I will tell you, in that first sales job, after 2 years of focusing focusing on the patients and on the relationships and really leveraging those relationships to help my clients at the level and high level that they needed to be served, all within compliance guidelines, of course, I had $22 million in sales. I reached $22 million in sales over those 2 years. My territory, when I took it over, was a dog shit territory. I think it was at like 6 or 7 million per year at the time. And so I grew that to 22 million over 2 years. And let me tell you, like, I won President's Cup. Where people didn't think I was going to last 6 months, I ended up training all those people a few years later as I became a district and regional and then national field sales trainer, and went on to train over 1,000 other people in the art of sales and relationships and leveraging those relationships and really selling in a consultative way. So that's what I'm bringing to my coaching programs now. I have a Make Sales membership that teaches you the daily actions to take to make sales. If sales is like elusive as fuck and you don't really know where to start every day, then come join my membership and you can access January's training. It was all about Instagram stories. In February's training is all about selling on video and how to show up like a fucking boss and sell on your videos and make sales in a way that feels so good and it makes you look like an authority. It's so good. It was like such potent trainings. And then in March, I've got some really, like, it's going to be all filled up with like the top 4 sales tactics that you need to, like the 4 pieces of sales, behind sales that you absolutely need if you want to have sales happening every day and you want to look like an expert online. As I take a sip of my green tea, because that's what the Make Sales membership is about. It's only currently $29 a month. You can cancel whenever, but the price is going up because the value is insane. And then in addition to that, to take another step forward, we're starting the Sales Queen Takeover Mastermind. Now, this mastermind is going to be incredible. And the whole point of it is, I can sit here and teach you everything that you need to know about sales in a podcast episode, and I plan to do that. You bet your ass. However, if you don't have anybody right there with you who is helping to make sure that your verbalizations are buttoned up. Like when I say verbalization, I mean, when you go to talk about and sell your service online, if you're tripping over your words or you're using shit that doesn't make sense, or it's not really like the messaging isn't so potent that people, have no doubt that you're speaking to them. Like, this Sales Queen takeover is going to be a life changer, because we're going to be doing not just the coursework, right? You're going to get a quick lesson from me, but then my real juice there is the implementation process, because we adults tend to like to take in and consume a lot of information, but when it comes time to implement, this is where you gain your confidence. This is where you don't become salesy, right? This is where everything is just conversational and laid back, and you feel completely confident when you're promoting your programs. And after doing these, after I use these techniques with my clients and with my trainees, they really start hearing way more of a yes, and they don't get ghosted as often. And they start filling your programs out with more ideal fit clients that love you and want to keep signing on with you for a long time. So if you want to know exactly what to say, how to say it, and what to do on your sales conversations, and get on the phone already pre-sold, having those people pre-sold, it's really the magic, right? Where people start saying how can we get started without you ever having to pitch them? Because let's face it, the pitching process, that's the most uncomfortable part. Okay. That's where, when I was never prepared, I would always get awkward as fuck and be what do I say? And just turn into the micro machine man and spew things out as fast as I could. because I was just like, oh my God, people are going to know that I'm selling right now. And oh God, they're going to hang up on me, right? But it's not the truth. That's just a lack of confidence and a lack of preparedness. So I'm showing you all the ways and all my tricks and all my secrets that are like up my sleeve. And I'm so excited about this and the new podcast. If you want to come join my Facebook group, we've got the Social Sales Queens, and I'm also hosting a weekly or monthly networking event. So if you want to reach out to me with the word takeover and we can chat about any of those things, then let me know. But especially about the Sales Queen takeover. Like if you want to be the person that not only just attracts people who want to buy, but you start attracting leaders who take action and want to buy from you continually and continually and continually. Like, you know, you're fucking magical. You know that once you get people in your programs, they're going to love you so much. It's just the fact of like getting them into your programs is the part that you're struggling with, right? Or that maybe you're making a couple sales and they're trickling in, but you really want this open flow. You know, like once you get people in your programs, it's life-changing, and you know the work that you do is so valuable. So let's get them in there, okay? Let's get your programs and services sold. You know, you don't need to be that coach and consultant online that's like the best kept secret anymore, or the one that like undercharges for the amazing work that you do because you're afraid that people aren't going to buy, all right? That shit's over, and that's what the I'm Not Salesy podcast is going to help you overcome. So with that, I'm just thanking you so much for being here on this journey, and make sure you hit subscribe and share this podcast with a friend who loves, you know, being online and is a coach or consultant or creative online wanting to sell more as well. This is going to be so much fun. I've got the first few guests on our podcast are a money mindset expert that's going to teach you how to like rewire your subconscious brain for wealth. And she did this for herself. Her story is amazing. Go listen to that episode. It's Alejandra Rojas. I also have an NLP expert who will we dive even more deeply around like timeline therapy and how you can literally go back in time and shift those moments that cause you to have fear and anger and guilt to spring up currently in the present, which affect you from taking action, so that you can start to take action boldly and confidently. This is what's happening in that episode, and I'm so excited for you to listen. And I also have an expert who is like the king of gift giving. And if you ever give away, if you want like more loyal clients from the beginning and to really stand out from the competition, he's a real estate agent who has built a side like business around really teaching you how to give gifts that actually turn into sales. And I'm telling you, it was such a fun conversation. So, and aside from that, I'm putting in other videos that are, audios that will help you understand what to do, how to do it, and why you need to do it in order to make more sales every day. So cheers to you for not being salesy. Thank you for being here, and I look forward to seeing you in the next episode. Bye. I want you to imagine for a second that you are the type of person who feels completely confident when you're promoting your programs, and you know exactly what to say and do and how to say it and how to do it during all of your sales conversations, so that you get on the phone with people who are already pre-sold asking, how can we get started, without you even having to pitch them. How amazing would that be? Now, this is the type of result that you can expect in the Sales Queen Takeover Mastermind. This is my new mastermind that's starting in March. And this will change the course of your business forever, because you will not only attract people who want to buy, but you'll start attracting leaders who want to stay with you a long time and keep working with you. So if you are a coach or consultant or creative who wants to easily fill out and sell your programs with your ideal fit clients and start hearing way more of a yes and no more getting ghosted, then DM me on LinkedIn or Instagram at Cassie Mackenzie on LinkedIn or at XO Cassie Mackenzie on Instagram, and DM me the word takeover so that we can talk about how This will change the course of your business, and I can share some of my secrets around, give you some ideas you can implement immediately based off of what you're doing currently and what you can be doing in a non-salesy way to make more sales and to really feel proud and feel powerful when you're selling, because it becomes more fun, right? It's more fun, easy, and effortless. So DM me on social media to talk about this, or you can book a call by hitting up the show notes, the link in the show notes, and I will see you in the next episode. Bye. If you loved this episode of I'm Not Salesy, then go ahead and hit subscribe so that you're notified of the next episode. And also leave a 5-star rating and a review. And if you send it to the link in the show notes, we will send you a present in return. We also love to feature reviews on the podcast as well. So we'd love to feature yours. So go ahead and send a screenshot to the inbox and come find me on social media. I love hearing what you're up to and how you're becoming not salesy too. I'll see you in the next episode.